I mean, obviously the networks that are out there were designed for voice, and I think over the years, we've always been behind, coming from a carrier myself, we've always been behind in terms of knowing what that next thing is. When you look at the iPhone, I don't think anybody was ready for that. However, as you look at iCloud and whatever's coming beyond that, the amount of streaming that's happening, you're going to have to get that signal closer to the end user to get the bandwidth. And we've been talking about this for years. It's interesting how we started this. We said, well, is this a niche? Is it an industry? It's clearly an industry where you need to get the infrastructure closer to the end user. So whether that's indoor DAS, outdoor DAS, whether that's picocell, Wi-Fi offload, however you do it, you need to get that signal there because what was the stat? I think 30% of downstream traffic comes from Netflix, right? You have one company, 30% of the traffic during peak times. You look at that, there's something else that's coming beyond that. And it may be gaming, it may be something else that's going to push the networks even further. So I think we're going to be fighting this battle for a long time to come.
Other comments, Gene?
You know, all of the carriers are scrambling not only to finish their 3G rollouts, but to get 4G well underway as well. On top of that, though, on top of the new technologies, it's really deploying more nodes, more broadcast locations. So it's more towers, it's more in building. The only, and I think we all understand clearly, the only way you're going to really support this demand for data is with more nodes, denser siting of nodes, more in-building stuff, and that of course speaks to in-building DAS, which is part of what this conference is all about.
I guess just kind of riding on your comments, you know, being an infrastructure provider and having a couple hundred or a few hundred in-building DAS systems deployed, it's relevant now by refarming these old systems. I mean, we're going back to those systems, and because of the RF requirements and because of the number of antennas and it being closer to the user and the density, we're having to go back and touch all these systems again. And so, I mean, that's relevant today.
Good.
I would just add to it, I mean, data demand is definitely the driver. I think the carriers have done a fair job of dealing with the voice transition to data services, but just as Mike pointed out, I don't think that there's anyone that could really have anticipated the true explosion of consumer use and want and need to have that service everywhere, anywhere that they are, all the time.
Well, we've actually seen on our network a data tsunami, if you will. Over the last 4 years, mobile data traffic has increased over 8,000%, and we're seeing that to continue to climb. And so how we're addressing that, obviously, we're building out our network. Continue to expand our network. We spent over $19 billion last year and planning on spending the same amount of money this year on rolling out our network. And of course, we're using a wide range of technologies to include, expanding our macro network. It's kind of like when you're looking at a network, it's like an onion, if you will, and there's many layers of that network. And we're deploying femtos, picos, DAS systems as well as macro sites in order to address this consumer need.
Is there a point, depending on the venue, the capacity, the number of users, where they would go from DAS and then Wi-Fi? And I think their answer was, it's not either or, it's both. And so that was an interesting comment because they look at it as a total, encompassing the whole network. So.
Yeah, we see that as well. I think in some of the venues that we've done, we haven't been able to do it just with the DAS itself, with the kind of data. If you look at a bowl of 60,000 subscribers and they want to see streaming video, you're not going to be able to do that with just a DAS system alone. You need to have a Wi-Fi there. I think what's interesting also is just how do you monetize this, because in effect it is free. You see cable operators setting up their own Wi-Fi networks out there in their service area as a way to reduce churn. So I think this is something that's clearly evolving. And it's not quite clear of how it's going to shake out. I think everybody would agree you're going to see a lot of Wi-Fi offload because of the pressure it puts on these networks. The bigger issue we think out there is just who's going to own and operate this going forward.